Good afternoon, everyone. It's 3 p.m. I think we might give it a few more minutes, but let's probably get started with basic introductions and a welcome. Thank you for joining us for this information session about the first round of research funding of the Center for Data-Driven Drug Development and Treatment Assessment. My name is Ivana Tullett. I am the Managing Director for the Center, and I am joined by Dr. Kayvan Najarian, who is the Center Director. Kayvan is also Associate Director of the Michigan Institute for Data Science, Associate Director of the Whale Institute for Critical Care Research and Innovation, Director of the Biomedical and Clinical Informatics Lab, and he is the Professor of Computational Medicine and Bioinformatics, Professor of Emergency Medicine, and of Electrical Engineering and Computer Science, all here at the University of Michigan. Before we get to our agenda, I'll have a few housekeeping notes. We are recording this session and we'll make the recording available on our website together with the slides. We want to leave ample time for questions and answers, so please either use the raise your hand feature or drop them in the Q&As and we will respond to them after our presentation. Our agenda is pretty straightforward. We will be talking first about the data and the research focus. That will be Kayvan, who will cover this portion. And then I will speak briefly to the highlights of our call for proposals before we yield it to you for your questions. Kayvan, please take it away.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Ivana. Let's start by talking about the program that NSF has. It's called IUCRC, Industry University Cooperative Research Centers. These are centers, national centers that NSF establishes on particular programs that are strategically important for the nation. And the objective for these programs is very clear. NSF wants to bring university and industry together on topics that are important for the nation and try to create solutions that are applicable and practical for the sector that we're targeting. There are several such centers across the nation. And for each topic, NSF designs only one center, and this center is that we're talking about, data, is a center that is established to address a critical need for the nation, which is methodologies, computational methodologies, AI, and machine learning methods for drug design and treatment assessment. We have two main objectives for data. One is addressing data challenges. As we know, for design and assessment of any drug, we need to have a lot of data. And unfortunately, the data collected in many of these families of drugs may have limited size and limited diversity, in a sense that if you want to, particularly if you want to use machine learning methods or artificial intelligence methods, you need to have a lot of data and diverse data. And for many applications, there's no such thing available. So we want to address the data. And there are other issues related to data, such as security and others that we will discuss later on. The second challenge that we are addressing by the center is use of artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms that are suitable for drug design and treatment assessment. There are so many AI methods out there. There is a burst of technologies in this field. However, a lot of these technologies are not directly applicable to, or not optimal for applications in drug design and treatment assessment, such as the issues such as transparency, such as the need for large databases. Sometimes they're not exactly what you can provide in clinical and pharmaceutical applications. So these are the two focuses, main focuses of the center, and all the proposals, all the ideas should somehow address these challenges. Now, let's talk about these challenges in more specific details. So size and diversity, such like I mentioned, the issue is that each pharmaceutical or each healthcare system may have limited amount of data that they collected based on certain clinical trial or whatever. But the issue is that they need far more data on, like, with diversity in terms of not just the race, but geographical distribution, in order to come up with reliable assessment of the results. Data that they create have different standards. Each center may use a different definition and the format, and it has to be created. It has to be put in a format, in a standard that is applicable for a variety of applications. Another issue is the privacy and security of the data. Majority of these data have PHI in them, and it's not easy to share them. And even if there is no PHI in it, or not particularly important, like types of data in it, the data itself, because of the intellectual property, is not something that pharmaceuticals, healthcare systems are very willing to share with others. So we want to think about methodologies that reduce the sensitivity over or preserve the privacy by allowing the security of the data, privacy of the data, but allowing us to have certain level of processing. And there are techniques, computational techniques, that are coming out, and they can provide some guarantees over the security of the data and privacy of the data while allowing analysis. So we're looking into dealing with those cases. And how to deal with the noise and redundancy in the data. That's also another issue that we have to deal with. Other challenges, if you go to the next slide, other challenges deal with transparency of these machine learning methods. If in clinical or pharmaceutical settings, we use machine learnings that are completely opaque and have no transparencies, that creates issues in terms of applicability. Clinicians and healthcare providers and pharmaceutical companies, they want to know why this black box, this machine learning, non-transparent machine learning, is making such recommendations. In order for these machine learning AI techniques to be more applicable, to be more used by the community, we need to think about interpretable AIs and interpretable machine learning that have some level of transparency about the recommendations they're making. And as you know, there are practically no databases out there that is complete. There are so many missing data. There are so many attributes that are collected in some settings and not in other settings. And we need to have methodologies that allow some sort of flexibility to deal with these incomplete databases. So these are some examples, but main challenges that the center is planning to do. Before we continue, let me say that we think about drug design and treatment assessment as we want to focus on the complete cycle of the drug design, not at the point that the molecules and targets are identified and leads are decided on. All the way, we want to focus it all the way to phase 4 and beyond, that we basically assess the performance of these treatments in clinical setting. Because of that, we have in the name drug design and treatment assessment. And based on the conversations we had with the stakeholders, with the companies that are involved in it, we want to put 30%, almost 30% on the drug design part of that, the earliest stages, and 70% on later stages, phase 4 and beyond, because that's essentially the part that we were asked to focus on, because that's probably more important for the industry at current stage of, especially when it comes to machine learning and AI. So if we go to the next slide now, let's talk about the structure of the center. Center is essentially data is acting as a funding agency, and here's the funding process. As you see, funding will come from 2 sources. National Science Foundation provides some fund for us every year that would be used for mostly administrative aspects of the work. But then we receive funding from industry partners. Each industry partner based on the level of vote and involvement that they want to have, put some amount of money in the pool that we use for the research. So center budget includes funding from these two sources. Then what happens, industry partners and university researchers communicate with each other, hopefully, and I will get back to this. This year, it's a slightly different scenario, but often through the interactions that we have with industry partners and university researchers, university faculty create proposals and submit these proposals to the center. These proposals, research proposals that we have the first rounding that happening soon, and Ivana will talk about the details after this. These proposals are evaluated by industry advisory board. It will not be evaluated by me, Ivana, or anyone at the university side. It goes in the hands of industry partners, and they decide which proposals they want to fund. As Ivana will say that later on, we'll have two stages of basically evaluation, but each stage of the evaluation is done completely by the industry advisory board and not us. The center, we're just doing the management of basically with the matchmakers and the people who process the paperwork, but not deciding about any of that. So industry advisory board considers the center budget and according to that decides the proposals to be funded. Before we go to the rest of that, I have to say that the funding, it's very limited. As you see, we're talking about 40K for at least for the first year. We only look at projects that are 40K in limit. However, keep in mind that the projects can be for multiple years, even though every year has to be evaluated separately. So you can write the proposals for 2 years, but you may get 1 year or maybe both of them in different years. Secondly, that's not the only source of money that can go to the proposals. Essentially, companies and not faculty. Companies may decide that they want to get like additional budget related to that, dedicated to the project, or they may go to NSF and request like additional postdoc or something and add it to the project. And even though that those postdocs will, or undergraduate students or graduate students will work for the projects that industry defines, it will be in collaboration with the university. They work for the industry partner on the project, but they will be in collaboration with university. So essentially, the level of funding that seems very low, even for seed fundings like 40K, should not be discouraging because there are lots of additional things that are coming out of that. More importantly, we are considering these as the conversation starter for communications that faculty will have with industry partners. These industry partners are coming from different fields, pharmaceuticals, IT companies, healthcare systems, hopefully like payers and healthcare insurance companies and those kind of entities. So we hope that by defining these projects, we open the channel for conversations, further conversation with industry, and result in higher impact sort of projects. Not only that, remember that we are trying with this, we're trying to have even the projects defined through the interaction. For the first year, it didn't happen as well as we wanted, even though some of you were involved in the workshop that we designed starting a year and a half ago. Some of you participated in that and had interaction with some of the companies involved in it. This year, since this is the first year that we're having this funding, some of the faculty may not have direct contact and interaction with the industry, but this will change starting next year, that we'll have multiple workshops, multiple sessions that the industry partner will be here and people can directly talk to them and get a sense of what kind of projects would be more suitable for them. All right, next slide. So Ivana takes over from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Kayvan. Thanks so much. Yes, I will cover some basics of our funding call for proposals. We have a link to the proposal on our website at the end of the presentation as well, and much more information is included on the website. But let's start with the real basics here. In terms of submission information, as Kayvan mentioned, the award amount is limited to $40,000 per project for this funding year. And it comes to the deadline, we will be accepting proposals through March 6, 2023. And the method of submission is pretty simple. I will just ask you to collate all your documents in a single PDF and email it to my email address. That's all that is required. Important, who can apply? So these are U of M researchers who are eligible to serve as a principal investigator on sponsored projects, which in practice means faculty, tenure track, tenured, or research faculty. When it comes to postdocs, postdocs may serve as co-investigators. However, the PI with the overall responsibility for the project will always have to be a faculty member. As I said, tenured, tenure track, or research faculty. That's all fine. Let's talk about the content of the proposal. We have designed it as having 4 major components. The very first one is a project description. And you see it's very brief. It's 2 pages. And that's very deliberate because, as Kayvan mentioned, it's not us who will be reading, evaluating, and rating the proposals. It's our industry partners. And we know the attention span of busy industry corporate members. So 2 pages is as much as we would like at this stage for them to evaluate, to read. Please include very brief description of your problem that the project will aim to solve, what AI, data science, machine learning methods you will use, and how innovative these methods are. Include the milestones you expect through the lifespan of the project, and which deliverables you expect to produce in the funding year. And very importantly, please also think about the list of industries and sectors that would benefit from your project or would actively participate in the project. Data-funded projects should be designed to foster active research collaboration between university researchers, you, and our industry partners. We don't require you to list specific industry partners. We do have a list of research or industry focus areas with whom we work. And Kayvan already mentioned pretty much all of them. It's biotech, pharmaceutical industry, it's IT, big and small, startups in the AI and machine learning area, then healthcare systems, as much as health payers, and data standardization companies. The second portion of the content would be your bibliographical references. Again, please, not more than 2 pages. And then we get to the budget. We do not expect you to produce a detailed budget at this time. We would like you, however, to list the eligible expenses you expect to have per category. The eligible ones are expenses for the effort of research personnel, that would be in practice postdocs, students, and lab resources such as high performance computing resources. Please note, faculty effort is not eligible for this grant. And finally, please also include biosketches of all principal investigators. Our standard 2-page limit again applies here. I would want to really ask you and kind of impress on you to not include any confidential or proprietary information in your proposal. We will share this as we will see in a moment with our industry partners, and please be aware of that. Let's talk a little bit about the selection and review process. You certainly recall Kayvan was describing our funding model. So NSF money helps us run the center administratively. All the finances that we will use for project funding will come from our industry partners. And that is why our industry partners, acting through their advisory board, will also decide which of the projects will be funded. As Kayvan mentioned, our role, my role, is limited administratively to make sure that the proposal satisfies the content and submission guidelines. And then we will share all such proposals with the IIB members for the first year of review. And at that level, the IIB will evaluate all submitted proposals based on the criteria you see here. And the top rated proposals that will receive the most favorable rating will be selected for the second round of review. The second round of review means that we will invite the applicants with those proposals to present in person directly to our AAB members at their spring meeting. The meeting will take place in mid-April, and we will ask you to be available for actually both days. The first day is planned for presentations. They will be brief, 10 minutes maximum, but they will also allow for direct interaction with the IIB members, questions and feedback. And the second day, there might be an opportunity for further discussion of the feedback, after which the IIB will make their funding decision. Now, a few more points I like to make you aware of, kind of miscellaneous. The very first important one, each applicant acting as a PI or a co-PI may submit only up to 2 proposals. Please note they may not duplicate or be substantially similar to projects that were already funded by other awards received by the researchers. As Kayvan mentioned, the projects may be designed as multi-year. Please, however, note that the IIB makes their award decisions on a year-by-year basis. Another item of note, data is a NSF IUCRC, and that's why our projects are subject to the IUCRC intellectual property rules. We work with our innovation partnership colleagues to really respond to all your questions. So for questions in this area, I will be referring you to innovation partnerships. And also my overview was really brief. More information is on our website for the call for proposals, and a link will be included in the presentation.